always start in this position. There's many variations of the fire hydrant, which we'll talk about in a moment, but we always want to start in this neutral position. So hands are directly underneath the shoulders, and the knee is directly under the hip, and the abs are pulled in and the back is as flat as possible. When we do the fire hydrant, depending on the variation that we do, we're most of the time going to be using glute, we're going to be using inner thigh and outer thigh. Depending on that variation, we may be isolating one muscle group more than the other. But the regular fire hydrant is just going to be a lateral movement of the leg. So the big thing that we want to make sure we're doing is that we're keeping our shoulders and our hips square as we do this. We're not leaning to one side as we lift that leg. So the range of motion doesn't have to be huge. It can be a small range of motion because it's still going to work the same muscle groups without having to compromise that body position. Some of the variations on this could be a kick up in the back. So Sandra's going to kick that heel up in the back, but she's going to keep her spine nice and neutral, so she's not going to dip her belly down to the ground. She's going to try to keep that nice and flat and isolate that hamstring. She may take the leg out straight behind her and lift it that way. That's going to get a little bit more of the lower leg, still getting that glute and hamstring. Sandra may take this leg straight out to the side. So now this is going to be using a little bit more outer thigh and glute with that flex foot. So there's lots of different variations on the fire hydrant. One of the things you can also do with the fire hydrant is you can do it as a balance movement. So as her leg comes out, she's going to lift the opposite arm. This will isolate that glute more, it will engage her core, and will make her have to balance through, and it will also allow her not to compromise the body position, so she'll really have to stay square to the ground. Somebody might have issues with this, would be somebody that maybe has a knee problem and may not be able to be on their hands and their knees. So in order to modify this for them, you could do this standing. So we would take Sandra up to a standing position, and she would do a squat with an outer thigh lift. So it would work the same way. So she'd go outer thigh lift on either side, so she can stay on one side as you do the one side, and then reverse and do the other side. It's still going to work the same muscles. It's going to keep those knees nice and protected so that people who may have some knee issues don't have to be kneeling on the ground. When we cue these exercises for the fire hydrant, the top 3 cues are going to be keeping that spine in a neutral position, pulling those abs in, and keeping the shoulders and the hips square to the ground. As soon as we start to lean to one side or the other, or we start to sag our abs down, we've compromised the position and we're really throwing our body out of alignment instead of actually doing the exercise to actually make sure the muscles that are working are supposed to be working. Fire hydrants can be used anywhere in your workout. You can use them as a warm-up movement. You can use them during the workout, during cool down. Just remember that if you are in a high-impact cardio, you don't want to drop down to the ground too quickly. So if you're doing high-impact cardio, do something that's going to bring the heart rate down a little bit and then take it down to the ground. So that is the fire hydrant.